Hello and welcome. This is a battle report for Fallout Wasteland Warfare. The scenario being played is Circuit Breakers from the Caught in the Crossfire expansion book. I'm playing the Railroad. I just got these guys painted up, so I was excited to get them on the table, especially for a train-themed scenario. 751 caps worth of them. Desdemona with the Skipper Leader perk and a railway rifle. Glory with her minigun. Deacon with his free huntsman perk and hunting rifle. Tinker Tom with a laser pistol, Dr. Carrington and Drummer Boy both with their pipe pistols, and two railroad heavies with railway rifles and machetes. Try saying railway rifle 10 times fast, I dare ya. Overall, they've mostly got their default equipment, but I find it a little odd that the railroad heavies have Gauss rifles as their default weapon when they have a faction-added specialty with the railway rifle. Fittingly, the Institute is up against the Railroad. For this scenario, they're going to be controlled by the Wasteland Warfare AI. 751 caps of the Institute looks like this. X688 Courser leading the group with the Synth Expert Leader perk, the Institute laser rifle, and a stun baton. Another regular Courser with an assault rifle and a baton. 2 troopers with Institute laser rifles and batons. And 4 Gen 1 synths with Institute laser pistols and batons. The Railroad is the goal of the scenario is actually to have more caps worth of your forces escape the board than your opponent. During setup, each side randomly picked one of the 6 tunnel exits to be their specific escape route. All 6 of these exits are sealed shut at the moment. They can only be opened by flipping on specific circuit breakers in the middle of the map. These breakers are randomly determined as A, B, C, and D. When a matching pair is turned on, the exit opens. The Railroad is escaping via Tunnel 6 and needs breakers C and D to be active. The Institute is looking for Tunnel 4, which is open when breakers B and C are active. Having an overlap makes this extra interesting. There's also a special scenario rule which says that if 3 or more breaker boxes are turned on at the beginning of each round, any models within the red wide railway tracks get a powerful jolt. It's a no-joke amount of damage, too, starting with a base of 2 and then increasing based on the results of a die roll. The train track terrain I have isn't actually red wide, but I realized that if you measured from the edge of the tracks an orange distance, it actually fits perfectly. I'm glad to see that those hours of 3D printing and painting weren't wasted. On the Institute side, X688 sets up right in the middle. The 2 troopers take one flank, and the additional Courser on the other. The Railroad sets up with Desdemona leading a hard push to the open side of the map. Glory plans to go up the middle, with Drummer Boy flanking. Based on the Railroad's faction rule, they get to see what a few investigation markers nearby have. We've got 2 easy items to grab, and 1 with a guaranteed danger. Desdemona readies, but with her skipper ability, it makes sense to hold off on acting. The first trooper activates and tries to get to the terminal, but can't quite reach it, so it takes cover just shy. Tinker Tom readies up as well. The Courser moves up and is also just shy of reaching the circuit box. The Gen 1 synth moves up and prepares. It's got awareness range to cover most of the field. However, I forgot that with the Institute laser pistol, it can only cover black range. Railroad Heavy readies up. X688 moves up and prepares as well. Glory readies up next. One of the Gen 1s decides not to wait and just charges forward. Deacon gets ready as well. The other trooper moves into a defensible position. On the other side of the field, Drummer Boy readies up. Drummer Boy's Heavy readies up too. Basically, the Institute starts advancing, and the Railroad is all preparing. Once the whole squad is ready, it's time to roll. Tinker Tom starts off, running and grabbing the first item. It's a laser pistol, just like the one he's equipped with. Oh well. Then he moves up behind cover. That long-range shot is possible for X6, but the laser blast splats off Tom's cover. Desdemona's Heavy takes their first move up and snags some road goggles. They then try to spot the Courser, but with the -4 penalty to perception, they fail. No shot this time. Deacon moves up and picks up a flashlight. Underneath it is a gas canister that explodes, but Deacon's armor blocks any damage. In a bit of a strategy shift, Drummer Boy's Heavy moves up to support Deacon in the middle section. Dr. Carrington makes good use of his red move speed to get into contact with the next terminal. With her Skipper Leader perk, Desdemona gets 2 action points, which she can use to move. So she does 1 movement action, which is red for her, 1 quick movement action, which goes down to yellow, and then flips over the C breaker with her second normal action. It's one of the 2 breakers the Railroad needs. It's also one of the ones that the Institute needs. Drummer Boy flanks alongside. Glory moves up to support Desdemona. Since she takes a penalty when firing at synths, and coursers don't count for that rule, it makes more sense that she provides some backup against them instead of the patrollers and the Gen 1s. The remaining Gen 1 synth moves up and is itching to get into the fray, except synths don't actually itch. At the end of round 1, the two sides have started their advance. The linchpin circuit box has been found and is under the railroad's control for the moment. At the start of round 2, a mole rat bursts forth from one of the train cars. Somehow it's burrowed a tunnel through. The Institute charges forward and a Gen 1 synth takes a pot shot at Tinker Tom. The shot goes completely wide. Dr. Carrington tries to activate the circuit breaker, and on his second attempt does so. It's only until a few activations later that I realize that B plus C is what the Institute needs. The Railroad needs C plus D. Whoops. Another Gen 1 synth puts a huge 4-damage shot into Desdemona. Since it's within range of its synth controller leader, too, it gets to use the action point to prepare. Its second shot is a miss, though, fortunately. The heavy in the rear stoically prepares. The next Gen 1 charges and tries to do the same to Carrington, but misses cleanly. Glory readies up. The next Gen 1 tries to put more hurting on Desdemona, but even with a -3 on the green die, misses. Its second shot misses as well. Tinker Tom readies up too. One of the troopers fires a barrage at Dr. Carrington. The first shot misses, but the second one connects and lets the trooper get a prepare token. Carrington only takes a single point of damage thanks to his armor. Well, let's ready the next heavy. Now there are more than enough figures ready for Desdemona to do her thing, but maybe we can wait a little while longer. The trooper decides to actually go for the objective. It reveals that this breaker box is the A box, which is useless to both sides. So now we know that the remaining one is D, which the railroad needs to activate. It also has a courser sitting next to it right now. Oh no. Well, Desdemona readies herself up, and it's time to go. First up is one of the heavies. They advance and get ready to unleash hell. But first up is a reaction shot from the Gen 1s. It's a solid miss. Now squarely in place, they try to spot the courser. It's an astounding success. They do. A solid hit from the railway rifle blasts through all the courser's armor and putting 2 damage on it. As an added benefit, now the courser's been spotted. It's much easier for the railroad's other forces to find it. Glory moves up and levels her minigun at the now exposed courser. Her usual hesitation about shooting at synths doesn't apply to coursers, apparently, since they don't have the synth icon. Her first shot is good, but the damage gets blocked by the courser's armor. Second shot is a miss. Third shot hits, but goes off the armor. Fourth shot is a good hit. Even with 2 armor, 1 damage gets through. Last shot is a clear miss. Glory tries to roll a luck test to get a quick reload, but no dice there either. The other heavy is up, and they move in and pump a railway spike straight through the courser. 4 damage rolled, and 3 gets through. It's down. Desdemona activates next, moving up with quick actions given by the Skipper Leader perk. Then, with her 2 regular actions, she flips over the D circuit breaker and fails to turn it on. Oof. Tinker Tom follows up and gets on the C circuit breaker, but since B is open, if he turns C on, it'll open up the Institute's tunnel, but not the railroad's, so he takes a pot shot at a Gen 1 synth and misses. Seeing that they need to control the D box and keep it off, X688 moves up as well. Since all the Institute models have gone or been removed, Drummer Boy uses his massive red move distance to get more central to the fight. Deacon takes a shot at the trooper and breaks all its armor, doing a nice solid 2 damage and earning an action point. He rolls right into using that action point to perform a quick attack action. With the -2 penalty, though, it misses. His second normal attack fails completely. At the end of turn 2, things are heating up. One of the breakers needed for the Institute has been activated, but the regular courser is down. At the start of turn 3, the damp air card is drawn from the event deck. There's no blank face on the green die, but according to errata, -1s apparently count as -2s. Dr. Carrington has a plan. He starts booking it away from the breaker box, but is going to catch a reaction shot from one of the patrollers. Fortunately, it can't catch up to him. Rounding the corner, he's able to just get in range to use his battle medic ability to pull a damage off Desdemona. One of the Gen 1s moves up and takes a shot at Deacon. It could have been a solid hit, but it's a complete miss with an X. Desdemona, newly healed a bit, readies up. It would be ideal for the Railroad to have the Institute switch the D-Breaker on, as that would take up their actions instead. One of the patrollers moves up and takes a shot at Deacon. One damage gets blocked, and one goes through. One of the heavies readies up next. One of the Gen 1s fires at Desdemona. 2 damage rolled, and her armor blocks it all. Its second shot is a total miss. Glory readies up next. The other patroller loops around the derailed train car and takes a shot at one of the heavies. 1 damage goes in, and 1 gets blocked. The heavy in the left of this photo readies up. It's a little hard to see in the photo, but it's there. Another Gen 1 takes a shot, missing the first time on numbers, and the second one as well. Tinker Tom readies up next. And it's time to go. He activates the C-Breaker box, which opens Gate 6, which is the one needed by the Institute. Then runs back to cover. Desdemona activates next, and with 2 tries, fails to activate Breaker Box D. She still gets 2 action points from the Skipper Leader perk, but she's going to sit there until this box gets turned on, so she at least uses one of them to prepare. The heavy who spotted the last courser takes a crack at spotting X688. With that -4 perception penalty, though, they don't quite make it. It's a real whiff of a turn for them. They figure if they can't take out the courser, they can at least thin the horde of Gen 1s. And then puts a railway spike right into the ceiling. The second heavy does spot X688. Nice. Their first shot is a narrow miss, but still a miss. The second one goes completely wide. They do manage to get a prepare token out of the deal, though. Now Glory is up. She levels her minigun at X688 and lets a salvo fly. The first shot is a hit that gets blocked by armor. With the armor broken down one from the previous shot, this 1 damage shot goes through. The third is a hard miss. Fourth is a good hit. 1 damage blocked, 1 damage through. Last one gets 2 damage through. 4 damage on a fairly hard target that has 7 health is pretty respectable. Despite that pelting, X6 decides to play the objective. It takes both of his actions, but he flips on the D-Breaker. I realize now, writing this, that he didn't need to do all that, but I guess it works out since I also messed up on the other side with Carrington. Now that the B and C breakers are on, the number 4 exit for the Institute is opened. Since C and D are on, the number 6 exit for the Railroad has also been opened. Since 3 breakers are open, the live rail is going to fire at the beginning of the next turn. In order to prevent that, Drummer Boy runs back and closes the B breaker. Closing the B breaker also slams the Institute exit shut. The remaining Gen 1 fires away at the prepared heavy, knocking 2 damage into them. This triggers their prepare action, though, and they return fire with the railway rifle. This should have been a hit, but I think I forgot about the Railroad's specialty with the rifle. It would have been a 4 damage hit otherwise. Oops. Desdemona hits without question, and sends 2 damage through it. The Gen 1's second shot hits with a -4 total on the dice, but then the heavy's armor blocks the single damage. Deacon decides to take a few shots at the Gen 1 to try and get them off the map. The first one misses outright. The second one goes through, though, leaving the synth with just 1 HP left. At the end of turn 3, things are at the boiling point. The Railroad have opened their exit, and they're putting a hurtin' on the Institute's forces. At the start of turn 4, we get the Rugged Rubble event card. One of the troopers is randomly designated the recipient of a danger card, but fortunately for them, they're unaffected. Carrington readies up first. X6's AI decides that it wants to defend or turn off the shared C-Breaker, so he spends his full turn getting into position there. He doesn't enter into melee with the Railroad heavy, though. Tinker Tom readies up. On the other side of the map, the trooper moves in and flips the B-Breaker back on. The Institute's exit snaps open again, and the rails crackle with electrical potential. Desdemona readies up. The Gen 1 that's hanging on by a thread knocks a point of damage into Drummer Boy from behind. Their second shot is a miss. The heavy next to X6 readies up, saying, "Hey buddy, I'll see you in a moment." The Gen 1 closest to Desdemona decides to use its melee weapon, charging in and getting a solid hit, but her armor negates all the damage. The other heavy readies up. With enough folks readied up, the Railroad makes its move. Dr. Carrington escapes through the tunnel, scoring up his entire 65 points. Tinker Tom also departs, scoring 63. The heavy next to X6 tries to spot him, but fails on the first attempt. And also fails on the second. Whoops. The next heavy tries to take a shot on the run at one of the Gen 1s, but fails hard. Then they retreat to get off the rails before they spark. Desdemona similarly moves away from the electrical death trap. She catches a parting blow from the Gen 1, but it bounces harmlessly off her armor. She fires at the closest Gen 1 to her, doing a solid 2 damage, stunning it, and then fully charging her crit meter. She lets fly with the crit, and the 2 damage gets through. It's not quite enough to knock the synth down, though. The furthest behind Gen 1 moves up to a safe position and takes a shot at Glory. It's a total miss, though. Since Deacon doesn't want to become deep-fried, he moves off the rails as well. He tries to finish off the Gen 1 synth that's hanging in there, but misses. He does get an action point, though, which he can use for a quick attack. The +2 difficulty for the quick action is cancelled out by the -2 for his specialty with the hunting rifle, so the 6 is a hit. The Gen 1 goes down. Unhappy with this state of affairs, the trooper moves around and takes a shot at Drummer Boy, sinking 2 more damage into him. Rather than trying to turn the rail off again, Drummer Boy departs and gets a safe distance. With its first action taken up by the stun, the Gen 1 takes a shot at Desdemona and misses. Her return reaction shot is also a miss. She just can't close the deal on this thing. Glory moves out to safety and levels her minigun at the Gen 1. She'll be taking some penalties from her reluctant special rule, but she can't get line of sight on X688 without risking becoming a person-sized briquette. The first shot is a critical hit, getting 1 damage through despite 1 being blocked by the armor. Her second shot should have been a miss, actually. Not sure why I counted it as a hit, but it didn't end up mattering in the end. Third shot is a hit for 1 more damage. And the fourth shot is a hit for 3 damage, sealing the deal on that Gen 1. She probably could have taken the last shot at Desdemona's Gen 1, but at this point it was very late in the evening and I was missing a lot. Plus, the game had basically been decided. At the end of Turn 4, the Railroad has evacuated 1/4 of its members and significantly reduced the Institute's forces as well. At the start of Turn 5, the live rail goes off. This involved rolling 2 blue dice and adding 2 damage per star and 3 per bottle. With this roll, that ended up being 8 total energy damage. It's possible that the double results on the blue die are supposed to be ignored, but the rules didn't make that clear. This kills the X688, also one of the troopers. Also Desdemona's Gen 1 buddy. With how late it had gotten, the fact that the Railroad could easily have evacuated Desdemona and Glory, and the number of Institute points left on the board to rescue, I called the game here as a Railroad victory. I learned a valuable lesson about not playing solo AI matches with 750 caps per side on particularly rules-heavy scenarios if I want everything to go smoothly. Overall, though, it was a fun time. I look forward to running this scenario again when I have a little bit more brain power to devote to it. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoy this series of Fallout Wasteland Warfare videos. There will be more to come soon, so keep an eye out.